Oh, I love this reading about Naaman the general. Leprosy was a disease that forced those who had it to be exiled from society. They were banned from living with the rest of the society. So to have leprosy was really to be banished. And when the general Naaman comes to the prophet Elisha and asks for a miracle, what we didn't hear today, there was a little conversation between Naaman and Elisha. Elisha said, okay, fine, you want to be healed? No problem. Go back to the river and jump in 7 times. And Naaman's like, no, really, what am I supposed to do? Like, that's it? Naaman was wanting something big and very liturgical, I imagine. Something wondrous and grand with lots of splendor and magic in it, perhaps. God works oftentimes very simply with us. As in the way that Jesus healed the 10 lepers. All he said was, go and show yourself to the priest. And in their walking in that direction, they were healed. How simple is that? Could it get any simpler? And how often I'm looking for the fireworks. God, I'm not sure what decision to make. Give me a sign. And I'm waiting for like an eclipse. No, not even an eclipse. I'm waiting for like planets to ram each other and explode as my sign. And sometimes it's very small. And with that in mind, I want to speak just briefly about this Jubilee Year of Mercy and how simple it is to extend mercy to one another. I want to share a little story. It's a story that I learned from a Christian pastor, and I think this story has been told in many, many, many settings, so you might have heard it, but it did happen at some point. Not to me, but to somebody else. And his story is this. A man was on a subway, and the subway was filled. It was at the end of the day, crowded subway, and the subway stopped, and 3 people got on the subway. A man with his 2 children. And this father sat next to the man who told the story. And then the subway took off. And as the subway began to take off, those little kids, they were going crazy. I mean, they're running up and down and making noise. And some guy was probably eating a snack, his little poppy seed muffin, and flies all over the place. And people are all looking around like, what's going on in this subway? And they're all looking at each other because the father just has his head down and his eyes closed. He's not paying attention. And everyone's trying to visually get the attention of that dad. They're like, will you take care of your kids? You're crying out loud. Everyone's tired at the end of the day. You know the experience. And so this man is sitting next to the father, and the people in the subway all make eyes with him and sort of silently elect him to be the one that talks to the father to get control of his kids. So he's like, thanks a lot. Okay. So here's the man, and he says, excuse me, sir. Sir, excuse me. Yes. Sir, your kids, they're going crazy. Do you mind? We're all going home. We're tired. And on he goes. Can you just get a hold of your kids? This is out of control. And the man kind of comes out of this daze, and he goes, oh, everybody, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We just came from the hospital. My wife, their mother, just died. In that moment, all of that frustration and anger instantly turned to what? Compassion, pity, love. So instead of wanting to throw those kids through the subway window, now everybody wants to wrap their arms around them. How interesting it is that one sentence of information completely changes how we interact with somebody, isn't it? That little bit of information radically changes that whole situation, huh? And the mercy that people will show now to this man. And these kids, they're going crazy because they've never lost their mommy before. They don't know how to act. I think with this Jubilee Year of Mercy, what our Holy Father is asking us is, could we treat people with that kind of compassion even though we don't know that sentence. Even though we haven't been filled in on the story, could we act with that kind of compassion towards others? Or do I have to hear the story before I act with compassion? See what I'm saying? Because once you hear the story about the mom dying, everything changes. But what if I never heard that story? Enter Jesus the Lord. And how he so witnessed day in and day out mercy and compassion without needing the story of the other. When Jesus encountered somebody, he didn't expect them to change before he loved them. He loved them, and then they changed and converted, didn't they? So often in my life, and this is where I'm a great sinner and I need to grow in this, is that I'll express that kind of mercy and compassion, but you have to prove to me first that you deserve it. Once you prove to me, then I'll love you. Oh, that's just the exact opposite of Christianity, isn't it? When we really think about it. And how often I put that demand on others. I will love you if, no. And that's not mercy. St. Paul nailed it when he said, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Let's let that ring for a second. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't wait for us to change. He didn't wait to hear the story to justify his self-giving love. He just did it because it's the right thing to do, because God is love, and he pours himself out mercifully. So here we are in this Jubilee Year of Mercy, and how simple it is to show love and compassion, isn't it? It's really not that hard. And do we really need that one sentence to make it possible? Or could we do it without it? Oh, I don't know if I can. And that's why I'm here in church today, seeking the help of Christ. Lord, fill me with your Holy Spirit to be able to love like you, to be merciful like you, to not put these demands on others before I will have compassion on them. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Naaman wanted something big and radical. He didn't get it. Something simple. But it's life-changing. It's the Jubilee Year of Mercy. Let us go forth like Christ and love and live with compassion. And let's try it even though we don't know the story.